Um, Time for a little story. Uh, um, James Dobson died a couple weeks ago. Oh, okay. Other people are familiar with his work. What a piece of shit. Anyway, he, if you don't know who he was, he founded an organization in the 80s called Focus on the Family. And very right wing, anti queer, anti abortion, misogynist, etc., etc. And then Dobson went on to help found all these other horrible organizations that today make up our evangelical Christian religious right in this country. I unfortunately knew Dobson's name very well. My parents were big fans of Dobson, and they listened to his radio show every day on the Focus on the Family show every day on the local Christian radio station. They recorded to cassette those shows and they re-listened to them. They read his books. His voice was a fairly constant soundtrack in family car rides. So if I wasn't exposed to enough anti-trans hate in school, in the world, from my mom, I had the lovely voice of Dobson in my ear and invading my inner world. Dobson also, besides all these other awful things, advocated or promoted the idea of disciplining your children or physically abusing them if they violated the will of God. And, I was real happy when the Walkman was invented. That helped a bit. But I was constantly hearing all these negative messages, and although he wasn't talking about transgenderism back then, he was saying, there's one way to be a boy or a man, there's one way to be a girl or a woman, and if you're not doing it that way, you're doing it wrong, and you're going against God's will. So even though my parents didn't physically abuse me, they didn't make it safe for me to be trans, and I just got, I felt ashamed and afraid of who I was. It was not it. And Dobson contributed to all that. So sometimes I would, be a fearless little freak who would be like the only AFAB kid at a breakdancing competition in like 1986 in small town in Wisconsin. Picture it if you will. Feel free to laugh. It's exactly how you think it would have been. But most of the time I retreated to my safety of my little room where I could draw cartoons and play music and play drums and dream of one day growing up to be a man who was also loved for who he is.
We love you.
Oh, I love you all too. Thank you. Thank you. And, those, not only was I getting all these negative messages about myself, it impacted what I could do, what I felt I could do, what I felt I couldn't do. So there were a lot of dreams that I deferred as a kid and a lot of dreams that I deferred into adulthood. And that dream of becoming a man, I did fight to make that a reality 30 years ago. And so now I get to be a trans elder with you all today. And but one of my other dreams was to be a songwriter and to be up on stage or in this lovely forest singing songs for you lovely people and telling stories. And I'm lucky enough that I have been able to do that the last few years. And although I'm very proud of who I am and being a trans man and trans elder and my journey, I can't help but wonder what it would have been like if the Dobsons of the world weren't invading my inner world and what my world would have been like, what my creative life would have been like. This song is about that little trans kid and a true story about my mom telling me there was no great need in the world for artists, while at the same time being very excited about my little sister who wanted to grow up to be Miss America. And Dobson makes an appearance in this song. And let's all appreciate that evil person's dead and hope that it's one fewer person in this world that makes trans kids unsafe, and that there's a little bit more safety because of him not being here for trans kids in their dreams.